But I would also fight Marisha Pessl in the cereal aisle. I would, because I'm just like, girl, this was stupid. This was dumb. Hiya, and welcome back to another Reading Wednesday. It's your girl Logan, also known as Sketchbooks and Book Books. So I said last video I didn't have a drawing time lapse, and I said I would go more in depth on my next video, and this is the next video. So I'm gonna go more in depth on that. Why I took like 2 weeks off of YouTube and everything. It's not like I have a big following anyway, but I still feel really, like I owe it to the people who do subscribe to me and do watch me to, like, an explanation. And also I like to be, reliable usually. But I have it's been like really hard the past few months, and I don't have the feel, I don't want to draw. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, I just don't want to draw. And so then even if I do have a video and like a review filmed and everything, I don't have an illustration to go along with that, so I just never put it out. And I don't want to do that, because if that was the case, then I would just give up on the channel entirely. So now, instead of like making myself have every video have like an in-depth illustration that is really cool and I'm proud of, instead of doing that, I'm just gonna do it for the books that I really want to draw an illustration for, that I don't have to fight tooth and nail to find inspiration to do an illustration for it, So it might just be here and there that it has an illustration. This will be a rant review because I only have one pro, and it really has nothing to do with the book itself. And the book that I will be reviewing today is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. Am I saying that right? Do I really care? No. Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I will be reviewing that book. First off, let me say why I read this in the first place. I read it because I wanted to prove to myself that I could read a really long book. Because I never read the Harry Potter series, don't really care about it. I've never read Sarah J. Maas, don't care. It's like fantasy books are the ones that are the longest things, and I'm just like, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that, okay? But Night Film was like, I read the hardcover edition, 598 pages, okay? And I was like, I want to read that, so I did. I suffered through, and now we will hear all about it. So first, let's just do a little brief synopsis of Night Film, what it was. So it's supposed to be it's a mystery thriller, and it takes place, you're following this dude who, the main character's name is, he's an investigative journalist named Scott McGrath. Okay, white man, divorcee, has a child with his ex-wife, still in love with her. Very cliche main character for a mystery thriller, okay? And I don't even read them a lot, but I just know. But yeah, so anyway, he's he got burned before by going after this cult favorite director who's seemingly untouchable named Stanley Cordova, okay? But then Stanley's daughter, Ashley Cordova, is found dead in an abandoned warehouse in Lower Manhattan, and Scott's like, this is my chance for redemption, or something. He's like, let me figure out what this is. But he gets together this ragtag, so insulting to the phrase ragtag, but a ragtag group of people to help him in this investigation and figure out what happened to Ashley Cordova, and what's up with Cordova in general. Why is he so secretive? What's his deal? Yeah, and also the Cordova, he's a director, right? And he directed pretty much just a bunch of horror films before falling off the face of the earth, and then his last films can only be seen underground, and it's a lot of it's weird, but whatever, okay? So that's pretty much the story. Scott trying to figure out what happened to Stanley Cordova's daughter, and then they're like, oh, but will he? The last time he got close to exposing the director, McGrath lost his marriage and his career. This time, he might lose even more. Okay, so that's how she pulls you in, Marisha, whatever. So let's start off with my single pro that I have for this book, which is nothing really to do with the book. But the pro is that if you want to write a book, there is no reason that you should not be writing that book. There's no reason for it. Okay, and Night Film falls into that category for me because this got published. This got published by a publishing house and everything. Marisha Pessl had a team of editors. Obviously didn't edit very much. didn't critique it much at all to me either. But we'll get into that later. The point is, if you have a dream to be an author, you can do it, baby. You can make a book. It ain't gotta be good, but I promise you, there's gonna be a 5-star review of it out there somewhere. No matter what book, there's gonna be a 5-star review. At least one. I promise you. So it don't matter. Follow your dreams. Write that book. Do what you gotta do. Get that bag. Live your dreams, boo. Live your dreams. You might not be a New York Times bestselling author, but you will be an author, and that is enough. It is impressive, okay? Sometimes. Marisha Pessl, I don't know. But anyway, so that's my one pro. That's my one pro. Is if you have a dream to be an author, you can do it, because she did. Anyway, so my first con, the one that is just like glaringly obvious, after this, like, I'm sure that I would have come to this conclusion on my own, but I accidentally saw it in a review before I picked up the book, that someone said like all the voices of every character is the same. It's the same voice, different names, different faces, same voice. And when I tell you that, I was like, maybe that's not true. Maybe they just a stick in the mud. They was not just a stick in the mud. They was not. They were telling nothing but the truth. You could have put them in a court of law and have them, you know, put their hand on the Bible. They were telling nothing but the truth, because it was every voice, everyone spoke the same way, the same wit, the same, like, okay, first of all, Marisha Pessl's dialogue, no one speaks like that in real life. It's not realistic at all, because everyone was writing like they're turning their statements into a writing class. And it's like, it's really weird. Like, everyone speaks in prose. It was strange. I was like, ain't nobody talking like this. Ain't nobody dropping poems 24/7. Like, this doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. But literally, it doesn't matter. Like, Scott McGrath, he's the main character. He speaks like that. They're like all like uber intelligent, right? And it's just, it's annoying. And it's stupid. But anyway, so you got Scott, and then you got this girl, what's her name? You got Hopper Cole, okay, who is like, we kind of learn later, this is a spoiler, we learn later on he was in love with Ashley, the girl that they're all investigating, and he also just a chain smoker, and I don't know what else he do. But then you have Nora as well, and they all speak the same. Those are our three like principal ragtag group thing. That ragtag, they all live in New York. Nora's like a blonde girl who wants to be an actress, and Hopper, like I said, I don't know what he do other than drugs. I don't think he had any ambitions. I really don't. And then Scott, you know, is an investigative journalist. You know, I'm divorced from my wife and I have a child that I neglect pretty much. But I'm also still in love with the wife. So the ex-wife, like whatever. They're all they're not interesting on their own, but then you add in the fact that they all sound the same. And also the people they come into contact with during the investigation, they also all sound the same. Like, they asked them a question and they respond in a way that it's like Scott would talk like this and Nora would talk like this, and you know, Hopper would talk like this. Why? Because there's only one voice that Marisha Pessl has, and that's it. It's like she just gave them different names, but that's the only work she did. And I'm just like, what in the world is that? And how did no one tell her? And how did no one think that was bad? Because it is. Your character's voices should be distinguishable. You should not have just one monotonous, indistinguishable voice that serves, and your character should not be mouthpieces for your own thoughts. That's not how you write a good book. That's not it. That's not how you do it, my dude. But no one told her that. Anyway, that is my second con. Moving on. Well, wait, that was my first con, I'm sorry. Moving on to my second con, okay? All the characters are also caricatures, okay? Like I said, so we got Scott, he's an investigative journalist, you know, divorced, has a child with his ex-wife, still in love with the ex-wife, and the child he says he loves a lot, but he don't be looking out for her at all, because he'd be taking her with him. Like, he's like, oh, I don't have anyone to watch her, let me just take her to this strange man's house that we're investigating, she'll be fine. Like, any dad who truly loves their daughter is gonna care about her welfare, okay? And they're gonna put that daughter over their own pride. That's all I'm saying, okay? And he wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing that. I'm like, you don't deserve a mug. You don't deserve a mug. You don't even deserve a hug when she gets home from school. Not that you there. You a bum. You a bum. Like, you're doing the bare minimum. You keep saying you love her, but your actions say something very different. And I'm tired of it. Okay? Shoot. It's annoying. But anyway, so he was a caricature. Hopper, he was supposed to be like super hot, and like everyone was like super like into him as soon as they saw him. I don't really know how that's possible because he smoked a lot. And if you know that, then you know that smoke penetrates your hair and your clothes and everything. So I'm just like, there is no way that everybody is just okay with living and just talking to this living chimney. There's no way. That's like, because if I smell somebody who smokes all the time, like it's very obvious, it hits you in the face, okay? It's not a fun smell. I am trying to keep my face calm. I'm trying to keep my face calm. Like, I don't want to wrinkle my nose or nothing. And I'm just like, okay, let's just try to treat them with respect. So I'm just like, I'm like, no. Because they say he had the charisma of Zac Efron. I'm like, Zac Efron, he don't smoke like 20 packs a day, so that don't add up to me. But okay, he was annoying, and also I don't get why that was his only personality trait, pretty much. And then him being in love with Ashley, and then we had Nora, who was a wannabe actress who was a waitress at the time, and then this is a spoiler alert as well. But I feel like it's worth it. So like then she reveals later on in the book, seemingly out of nowhere and for no purpose, that she was sexually assaulted by this random man when she ran away from home. And this goes into like another con I'll get into later, but like it's used as like almost character development, like it's supposed to be just her revelation, like her reveal that she was sexually assaulted. I'm just like, no, we don't do that. And I'm just like, why? It came in so late in the book too. It made no sense. And then also, Nora at first was like totally put off by Scott, the main character, the investigative journalist or whatever. And they had this like detective relationship, of course. But then later on, Marisha had Nora like try to get to sleep with Scott, seemingly out of nowhere once again. I don't know why. I almost felt like it was just to prove that the main character was desirable. And I'm like, no one in this book is desirable. No one. Okay? Unless you're just drawn to bums. Then I don't know why anyone in this book would turn your eye. Everyone here needs to find a therapist, and quickly, except they wouldn't be able to do that because none of them have jobs. Okay? Like Hopper especially. I don't know how he's paying for anything. But yeah, so they're all caricatures. So that plus the indistinguishable voice, I gave a crap about no one. I was like, I would be so happy if all of them just died at the end somehow. Like if Stanley Cordova won some, I was like, that would have been the most interesting thing, because I'm not rooting for anybody. And I kept asking myself, I'm like, am I supposed to be rooting for Scott because he gives me no reason to root for him? Like, I don't care about this dude. I do not care. There's not a single person I cared about in this book of 598 pages. And I'm like, what was the point of writing it then? Like, I don't understand. It boggles my mind, because I'm like, if you write a story, like, aren't you supposed to get the reader to care about at least something or someone? I didn't even care about the mystery. Like I said, I wanted to prove to myself that I could read a book that was long, and I did that. But if I didn't want to do that, I could have totally put this book down and not cared at all about the mystery and like what happened. Okay, so what was the point? But anyway, on to the next one. So the mystery is not unique, and the thriller is very by the book. That's pretty much what I have to say about that. Cause like, oh my gosh, so she has like Stanley Cordova has this fanatic following. People love him. They go to these midnight screenings in tunnels and stuff. And I guess that was the most unique part of the book, but they're just nothing Marisha Pessl didn't take them anywhere that made me gasp or made me excited or threw me for a loop. As I was reading it, I just kept wondering what gave her the strength to keep writing. What was motivating her? Because I'm just like, this is so, she wrote a book that has been written thousands of times before and will be written 100 times more. You know, like I'm just like, you didn't do anything new and you didn't do anything better. I just don't understand it. I'm like, you took a very boring idea and you just did it again and the execution wasn't even better. I just don't understand that. I just don't get it. It's a disconnect for me. But yeah, so the mystery is not unique. It's not, it doesn't have you on the edge of your seat. It doesn't have you just wanting to know who did it. Cause actually, the more they learn, it's like the more it seems plausible that Ashley really did just kill herself because her family was not great. And I'm just like, well, that's not a mystery at all, is it? That's not a mystery. So what was the point? Gosh, okay. So my next con, Marisha Pessl writes like a man, and that is not a compliment. She writes like a man, and the fact that Scott kept commenting, like he could not describe anyone without commenting on them like physically, and then not just that, but like kind of saying like if they were hot or not, or like, you know, physically attractive, which I was just like, ain't nobody care. You probably look like I could run into you 25 times in any major city in America. Okay, like you're very plain yourself. So I don't know why we have all this judgment. But then also, you know how I told you that Nora randomly reveals that she was sexually assaulted in the past and it's presented as character development. Well, we know that men tend to do that sometimes. Women do not usually, because we understand that you should not use sexual assault as the furthering of someone's character. Like it could come from, you know, person. Like it's just so rude. It's so backhanded that like, oh, something else, something external, something traumatic has to push this person to change themselves, to become stronger or, you know, I don't know, more resilient. Like it's just disgusting. No, I would never wish that upon someone. So it's like, yeah, this change can come within. It's like you take the agency away from the character when that change is sparked by an outside force. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, like when they have to, because otherwise they're just gonna like succumb to depression and anxiety. Like what are you doing there? So that was one of the representations. I'm like, I'm like, you're not a woman anymore, and you just embodied this man and this male mindset to make this book that has no unique merit. And I'm like, this book that is just very lackluster to me. I'm just baffled by the experience. I still am. I would love to interview her about this. I'm just like, what were your hopes? What were your goals? And were they accomplished? Because I'm very confused. But anyway, so she writes like a man. I kept thinking that the whole time I was reading it. I kept thinking that she just wrote like a man. And it was like, dang. Especially because there was like a line that Scott was like, he was like, oh, I can't read minds. Okay, I'm a dude, I can't read minds. Like I need context and da-da-da. And I was just like, Marisha, baby, please. Why are we doing this? Do we hate ourselves? Are we ourselves misogynist? What are we doing? I don't know. But it was so, I was like, I keep saying I was baffled by it, but I'm baffled by this entire reading experience. I'm baffled by the existence of this book itself. That's all I can say. Okay, so also, Marisha Pessl is very ignorant in her own worldview. She's a white woman, and this ignorance leads to multiple incidents of racial insensitivity passed off as humor in her book. Okay, and I say racial insensitivity, but I'm like, is that synonymous with racism? I don't know. I'm like, I don't think so, because no actions were committed, but it is racially insensitive no matter what. Because there was like an Asian doorman, okay, this is the one that sticks out in my mind the most, and Scott McGrath kept calling him, like, just remarking on how silent he was, and that he was like the last samurai, and just guessing what race he was, because there's no way he knew. He just knew he was Asian, but he didn't know if he was Japanese or not, okay? He just kept saying, like, oh, he's the last samurai, and I'm like, where's his sword, and kept going with it, like it's supposed to be funny, and it's not funny, it's just lazy and racist. Like, it's just lazy and obvious that a white person who thinks poking at someone's race is humorous wrote this book. Like Marisha, it's sad. Like, it's very sad, okay? Like, I could just tell that you don't think about anyone else's perspective very often in your life because you never had to. And that's depressing. That's a sad thought. It's pathetic, and it makes me pity you in a bit. Like, she did that a lot. Like, it's not like if any person of color was in this book, it was a stereotype of a person of color. I think there was a black cab driver with a gold tooth who purposefully, he purposefully got more money out of them than they needed because he was asking him to take them somewhere he remembered, but he was acting like he couldn't remember it so he could drive them around more and get them to pay more, whatever, okay? And I was just like, oh, all right. But yeah, every person they come across pretty much was white. Every person who ever encountered Ashley Cordova or anything was white. Like, it was weird at this point. I was like, and just statistically, I'm like, this don't even make sense. I'm like, statistically, I'm like, I don't even believe this, but okay, because you're in New York. Aren't you in New York? I was like, New York is a diverse place. I don't understand that. But anyway, yeah, so it was very uncomfortable. But another thing that points to Marisha Pessl's ignorance or just lack of humor in general was, I think that there was times when fat characters were described in a really grotesque, grotesque way, like really kind of like, I think they were supposed to be funny, but I wasn't sure because I was just like, why are we focusing so much on the fact that they're fat? Like, why do I care that they're fat? It's not a big deal, you know? It's giving very much like if Marisha Pessl saw a fat person in like a grocery store, she would just stop and stare like they were just a marvel to society. She'd be like, oh my gosh, here they are, going about their lives, getting some Cocoa Puffs, what, you know? And I'm just like, Marisha, they're humans, they're people, they eat. I don't know what to tell you. I was like, this is not inherently funny. Being fat is not inherently funny. It's not anything. It's just an adjective. I don't know what to say. I was just like, I'm so done with you. If you're not funny, don't try to be funny. Don't try. And not every book has to be funny at all, okay? Apparently, not every book even has to be remotely interesting. Because I read all of this. I can't. There was a part where I skipped and I skimmed some parts, but I'm gonna say that I read all of this just so I could give this stupid rant review. Was it worth it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. I really don't know. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? I don't know, but it proves that when I put my mind to something, I can do it occasionally. But I would also fight Marisha Pessl in the cereal aisle. I would, because I'm just like, girl, this was stupid. This was dumb. I also want to know what publishing house this was, because that publishing house must also lack diversity for everyone to be like, yeah, let's send this off. Let's send this to the shelves, to the bookstores. They're gonna love this. Like, there's no people of color in it. The people of color that are in it are stereotypes. She's poking fun at fat people. It's just, what are we doing? What are we doing? But whatever. Like, where was the editing? Where was the critique? I don't know. If I was her, I would just leave that publishing house. I would get a whole new entire staff, because no one is gonna, I feel like no one was telling her what they really thought, or maybe they were just like her and didn't even have any critical thinking skills. I don't know. Next con, because I could go on forever on that. Okay, so the ending was weak and unsatisfying after 598 pages. 598 pages, and you get to the end, and it was just, it was the biggest letdown ever to me. Like, the mystery isn't even like really solved, okay? Like, I think Scott gets an interview with Stanley Cordova. He figures it out after, and he finds him at this like island all alone, and Stanley agrees to talk to him. And that's how it ends. That's the ending. That's what you read all about that mystery for. That for the main character to get an interview that you don't even get to read. You don't even get to see what the whole what has Stanley been doing all this time? How, like, what are you? No, I don't know. It was stupid. Also, the mystery part, there was like, I thought this was strictly rooted in reality, but we dipped into witchcraft for a second and it was really weird. And I'm still like, in my memory, I can't recall if that was like legit or if that was something to just throw them off the trail of what was really happening with Ashley. And because we had two ideas. We had an idea that Ashley suffered from a disease that kept coming back and she would fight it and be better for a while, but then it would come back and she'd be weak and have to go to the hospital. If it was that and Stanley was trying to save his daughter's life, you know, who's just a sick child, or if she walked across this bridge that no one else is supposed to walk across and her soul was given to Satan and all of this foolishness. And I'm just like, bruh, to me, to add magic to a mystery is such a cop-out. Because I'm like, nah, I feel like the whole point of a mystery for me is it's supposed to be you're supposed to be revealing the evils of humanity. The evils of man itself, you know? That's what you're supposed to be telling me. The evils that man can sink to. I don't need no wands added to this, okay? What is the magic supposed, you are not genre blending this. I don't want that. I don't want that. Sherlock Holmes never did with that. You don't see no fairies popping up in Sherlock Holmes. Or in Scooby-Doo for that matter. In Scooby-Doo, they always thought it was a ghost, but then it was just, you know, a corrupt old man calling them those meddling kids again. That's what I wanted. That's what I signed up for. But she just dropped in all this magic boo-ha-ha. And I was... When I say I would fight Marisha Pessl on the cereal aisle, I mean that with my whole chest, and I would win. I would win. I can guarantee you that. I don't care what she's wearing that day. I don't care if she brought brass knuckles to the grocery store for no reason at all. I would still win because I'm heated. I am so heated. I'm like, Marisha. And then after that, maybe I would actually ask her questions about, like, you know, why did you do the things you did? But first, I'm fighting. I'm taking Powerpuff Girls' approach to Mojo Jojo. I ain't letting her say nothing. I'm just fighting. Because I'm mad. I read all of this book, and you didn't even give me an answer to the question you posed in the first place. Oh, I ain't never felt so duped. Oh, I felt like I was scammed. But I was not. Anyway, so yes, the ending was terrible after all that, after 598 pages of this stupid, monotonous writing. She gave me absolutely nothing for that. You don't even get a gold star. You don't even get it. It's like you get a pat on the back, maybe. Like, you did that. You did it. You know, it's so rude. But anyway, so, and then my last con, and the thing that I kept kind of hoping for, is Night Film is unfortunately not a satire of male writers in the publishing industry. Okay? Because that's the only way that I would have called this book genius. Is if Marisha was like, yeah, I'm actually making fun of like all the male writers out there who think their voice is so great and all of their books are so wonderful, and how they have like their female characters are really weak and always come on to the main character no matter what, even if she could do better, and how they think that these like insensitive, offensive jokes are actually funny. If that was what she was doing, oh, I would have been a stan for life. No, I wouldn't have, actually. I don't know. But I would have really been like, I would have respected that, because that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. Because I was just like, there is no way. It felt like she sold. It's like she was no longer a woman when she was writing this. For real. I was just, it was awful. Because even Scott McGrath's like ex-wife was painted as just this, you know, a witch or like a terrible person, like the B word, you know? She was painted as that. It was like there were no real likable female characters here, and Ashley Cordova is written off as like this larger than life figure, you know. They made her so enrapturing and so like important that she didn't even feel real anymore. They just put her on this pedestal and it just didn't make sense. They like idolized her to the disgusting point, which I feel like men do a lot in like books and stuff. They just like idolize women to the point where it's like now they're not human and they can't do anything wrong. It's really weird. It's strange. So if she was making like a point, like an observation on male writers in the publishing industry, then I would have loved that. I would have loved that, but that is not the case. I feel like she really did just want to write a mystery book, and she thought she did a good job, and I guess everyone she asked about it said she also did a good job. But I was in agony. I was in agony. Okay, so I am going to read my review of this book. I gave it 1 star, of course. Anyway, so I'm not sure I enjoyed reading this. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, early on I saw a review saying every character was the same, and unfortunately my experience was ruined because of how true I found that statement to be. All the characters speak exactly the same, they just have different names. None of the characters are likable, and I thought the ending was beyond underwhelming for everything I read. I only skimmed near the end and when the main character breaks into the Peak, which is where Stanley Cordova lives, and it's like his grand estate or whatever, because she wrote that in a way where he was like under drugs or something, and I said absolutely not. I already struggle with your writing enough. I'm not gonna put myself through this. Okay, so no. But anyway, the only way I'd say this was a good book is if it was a satire and Pessl revealed she was making fun of boring white male authors and how they write because she wrote just like them. Scott McGrath is boring, divorced but still in love with his ex-wife and has 1 daughter. Pessl has him describe fat people in a way that bothered me, as if them being fat is inherently funny, or her description was supposed to be amusing when it wasn't. This book is so boring and long. I am in awe that Pessl had the motivation to write it at all, just adding a title to the endless list of by-the-book thrillers. Okay, and P.S. I'd like to come back and add that this story is obviously from an ignorant white person. The ignorance is what stands out. The whiteness can be inferred because in this all-white cast of characters, the only representation of other races are stereotypes that Pessl describes insultingly. A Japanese doorman gets called the last samurai by Scott, as if that's at all funny. A black taxi driver with gold teeth blatantly overcharges them by driving around, and I'm sure there's some more. It's just I can't remember them or really anything more of this awful book. And that's my brain protecting me. That's a trauma response. I don't remember anything more about this book, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's my rant review of Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I mean, there are 5-star reviews of this book. There are people who loved it, and I really don't understand why. I mean, the average rating for it on Goodreads is 3.79. Okay, so, and the leading review, or the leading rating is 4 stars. So, yeah, like there's 33,145 people. And there's 26,757 people who gave it 5 stars. And I don't understand. I'm like, how? What was amazing about this book? What was amazing about it? I really don't know. I really don't. And I don't know. And they describe it as a horror book too. Some of them. I have mutuals as well, you know, who really love this book. And I'm just like, how? How? I'm like, I just don't get it. I have a lot of mutuals on Goodreads who love this book. And I'm just like, if you read it again though, like, would you still think that? Because I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, that's my rant review of Night Film by Marisha Pessl. Thank you for watching. It was a long one. I am parched, honestly. But I'm glad I got that off my chest, and now I will never think about this book ever again. Yeah, so tune in again. Go read some books. Have some thoughtsy-watsies. Hope you have a great day, and read a good book. Read something, anything other than this, because I promise you it will not give you anything. Have a great day.